Well, welcome back to another session, another conversation with ZipDeal. This is our Unzipped series. And today, well, we have a special treat actually. We're speaking to Marlo Mason. How are you, Marlo?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much.
I'm really excited about this conversation. I want the audience that listens to this particular episode or session to know a little bit about you because I've said it, and we just said it before we started to record the episode. I think that experience is the thing that differentiates people greater than any other attribute. And you have a lot of it. And you have a lot of it in this industry that we call automotive. And I think that that is something that people really count on when they're looking for professionals, when they want to learn, when they're looking for somebody who they want to trust as a subject matter expert, as a thought leader. And so, audience, just you need to know this about Marla Mason. One, uh, she went to the NADA Academy, and there's a bunch of you that didn't even do that. So I didn't even do that, and I know quite a bit about the industry, and I've been in it for a long time. And I know that is one of the crown jewels for people who have accomplished that. It is extremely says a lot about you when you've gone to NADA Dealer Academy. It also says a lot about a person in our industry if they have experience on both sides of the fence. And what I mean by that is you have retail experience all the way throughout a dealership, pretty much bumper to bumper, which is also extremely impressive. And now for the last, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you've probably been 6 years or so, maybe more than that now, but several years now on the service provider side, SaaS companies, digital retailing. And now here you are as a powerhouse member of the ZipDeal team, which I'm a super big fan of the product. I really, truly believe it should be in every dealership. I think it's one of the no-brainer services. There's a few of them I have in a little bullpen that I tell dealers, this is a no-brainer. Yes, you can afford it. And yes, it will absolutely be something that you'll never regret. And now you're on the Zip Deal team. And so just how are you feeling about all that? Are you like, did I do too much on your intro? You feeling good?
No, thank you. I really appreciate that. It is, I think, vital to have the in-store retail experience to really serve our clients well on the vendor side. We all can surmise what the pain points are, but I really approach every dealer meeting I have with the utmost respect for their time. I am very acutely aware of the investment they have, the liabilities they have, the accountability they have, and every minute I'm in front of them is a minute they're not handling something else. So I want to make sure when I do get the privilege of their time that I make it of value. And it's also very fulfilling to work in the trenches with their team. I've had a tremendous opportunity, as you mentioned, to grow my career in automotive in ways I never expected. And I would love to pay that forward. Helping a green pea, first time selling cars, to that, 30, 40-year veteran that says he's going to retire if he has to learn another program. I love that challenge and opportunity to just help them every inch of the way get as much out of this as they can.
I love that. I love your attitude. I love your demeanor. And I especially am impressed by the experience. And I don't hand those compliments out lightly because I've been in the industry for so long and I know so many people. I can't wait for people to learn from your perspective more about ZipDeal. So let me jump right into it with you. The first thing I want to ask your perspective on is do can ZipDeal really help increase market share and revenue for a dealership?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, whether it is just their messaging, their offerings, um, the biggest thing that we do almost completely organically is the ability to customize and get real time feedback. I don't think there's anything more valuable than knowing right now. We say this is an industry slow to change, but the clientele isn't always slow to change. And having a pulse on that and maybe just getting a pulse and getting back off and onto something else by someone who just bought a car today from you is usually beneficial to drive revenue. Like I said, whether it's to gain the next customer or to get the most out of the one in front of you.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, I have a ton of dealer examples. I meet with my dealers regularly. Again, always respectful of their time, but at least quarterly we'll do performance reviews. And one that stands out recently was a quarterly review. I like to call them opportunities, as far as when I see they're doing well and what maybe not. In this one particular example, we were looking at their marketing questions that they were asking each client that goes through, buys a car and goes through ZipDeal. And they realized it was, you could literally see the light go on in the dealer's head when he realized, like, my USP, my unique selling proposition was built from the COVID market when
Mm.
everything was very, very different, and we're still doing it. Let's ask, right? So he himself actually rewrote the question, what was the number one reason that brought you in? Turns out right around 5% even knew what their USP was or said that it was what led them to actually make the purchase. We had the same results 2 weeks in on that as we have about 90 days in on that. So very clear, very true, quick trending, and they have since been able to completely revamp their USP into something that meets today's market. And I guarantee they will be keeping that pulse. They won't wait umpteen years like it's been since COVID. It feels like a decade.
Yeah.
So yes, I've seen very real examples, whether it's helping messaging to get to the next client. um, Lead providers is another one we talk about in marketing surveys. What are the sources that led you to us today? Had a dealer look at results from one lead source provider and think, oh, I'm going to cancel them. Talk to their marketing person about it, really looked at the number of leads they received versus what the clients were saying brought them in, and the closing ratio turned out to be very high. And actually, what he was about to cancel and he thought he was overpaying for was one of his best lead sources. So, versus that vendor telling him, he had his clients telling him little expertise from his marketing team, and they put it together. So, could have lost something that was actually a really high closing ratio.
Wow.
I could go on, Sean. There's tons. Another great example is, accessories, right? Everybody wants to sell more accessories. OEMs want more accessories sold, and had a dealer partner wonder if a non-OEM accessory that they really wanted to sell would have any interest. In 2 weeks, it became one of the top 5 accessories selected by their new car and CPO clients. And about 2 months later, it became the number one. So great margin on that accessory. And again, just a quick performance review, brainstorming, looking at, what were the top accessories, having an idea, hey, what would I like to sell more of, whether it was OEM or non-OEM. Turns out it was non-OEM, became the number one choice.
Mm.
So ZipDeal can really provide insights above and beyond, filling that time, learning a little bit about clients' driving habits. So the finance menu is really tailored to them. It's much more far reaching what we deliver.
Mm. Yeah, so many great examples. I don't want to bury all the leads in there. There are a couple that I just want to put I guess, another bow on. Partly because I always contextualize things in like experiences that I've had or from people that I know that have had them. And the last vehicle that I purchased, the dealership lost thousands of dollars in accessory sales and labor because they didn't offer any of those things to me, and they could have. And this is truck accessories. Do you want to put different
Mm,
tires and wheels and all that? But that's the case for a lot of dealers where they have a model or two or maybe several that it's like it's a heyday for accessories if they're doing it right. And ZipDeal is a perfect tool for that. I literally could imagine the number of people that are experiencing ZipDeal from your dealers now when they see in their hand something that now includes them in something that previously was, a black box or a process that they don't get to be involved in at all. It's a game changer. And I also like the fact that, and you did it in a very nice way, but when you're talking about lead providers, oftentimes you will have representatives of companies that they're only going to protect their own interests, and they will whisper in the ears of dealers to try to lead them or direct them away from something that actually might just be one of the more valuable providers or resources that they have. And takes people like you and companies like yours to actually help dealers see those things. You guys are doing that through a tool that you provide, but you also, because of your experience on both sides of the fence, when you're talking to your dealers, you can, one, sniff some of those things out, but then give them real world evidence of, yeah, this is the wrong decision. And you can just do it with facts. And so you can bypass how people feel about it and just say, no, this is a business decision, not a personal one. I think those are all brilliant things that all dealers should be really paying attention to and keying in on. Any final thoughts before I go to my next question
Yeah,
with you?
definitely. I think that is also one of my favorite things about my job at ZipDeal is sharing the wealth. Of course, never giving away anything proprietary or anything like that, but I can certainly take these best practices. I'm seeing these inventive ideas that dealers come up with and share them across the, all of our dealer body. And the accessories, for example, like we said, it's giving that insight into, what the clients want, but there's so many, unfortunately, areas of moving pieces in a dealership. Where's the breakdown? So if I can show a dealer, look, over 20% of your clients are picking one or more accessories, how much of your accessories gone up? When the penetration hasn't increased, okay, where's the breakdown? Did the consultant get them the pricing information, the install, and so forth? If they did, is it your pricing? Or are you not stocking these things that we can clearly see are your top choices? So we can look at, is it a consultant process? Is it a stocking parts process? Is it a pricing? So it really does afford them the opportunity to drill down. We can get that ball rolling and then dig in with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Well, the next thing I wanted to ask you is, how does ZipDeal, in your opinion, how does ZipDeal allow dealers to make immediate improvements and adjustments? And you kind of were actually, it's almost a precursor of what you were just kind of saying. Um, as far as improvements and adjustments that can be made immediately to enhance the customer satisfaction, because everybody talks about customer satisfaction, but very few people do anything about it.
And I think part of that is because it isn't real time. They're maybe seeing it on an OEM benchmark summary report where
Mm,
the dissatisfied clients happened a month or more ago. With ZipDeal, what we do that really makes us put the dealer in a position of power to adapt immediately is the client's still in the showroom when we kind of do the temperature check. And I call them CSI savers. So we have a
mm,
5-star rating, and it's, their experience so far, because they're not completely through. Anything under the top rating, we also give them the chance to state, they can actually say what it is. I had a dealer say, save me a deal. They actually typed in that they were going to back out. They wanted to go get another trade-in value and then come back. We notify them while the client's doing ZipDeal. The desk manager gets a text and says, hey, you have less than 4 stars, and here's what they're saying. He, of course, ran over, pulled up the different trade evaluation tools and said, you don't have to go anywhere. Let's do it right here. They didn't even have to adjust the trade value, but that client would have backed out. So I think as far as, if you really want to be customer centric, it needs to be in the now, not when it's too late and they're down the road. It's been a month since that survey, and then now you're looking at the results. It doesn't feel tangible, and I don't think it elicits immediate corrections. With those verbatims, I trend them across all the dealers. And yes, we do see overall time as the number one complaint. But number two was a surprise to me, which was communication, whether it was too little or too much. Like, you called me 20 times. I was coming in, you need more sales managers because my sales consultant couldn't get an answer because he couldn't get to one of you. Like, those things, those kind of insights, some come back very typical, and others from those verbatim, when you add them all up, kind of amazing to see that it's not always what you think it might have been. And certainly in dealerships where we do have personnel turnover, it could just be seeing a couple of players maybe are causing the friction, and taking steps to, polish and retrain and see what we can hone in on to get that back up to a 5-star.
Mm. Yeah. Again, you're just making me think of all kinds of experiences that people have every day, unfortunately, and to have a tool that can be a CSI saver. Love that. It, who's listening to this content, who's ever bought a car once or twice or three times has not had an experience that they probably wish the dealership had something that could have saved the CSI, even though the consumer wouldn't know what the CSI would even what does that mean? But there are a lot of people who still buy the car and they are driving away angry. The process drove them about as far
Absolutely.
away from wanting to do business with you as possible. And you could be in a position where you don't even know it. You don't realize you're doing that. And here you are giving all of these very specific reasons why you can use a tool to correct all of that in real time. That is so important.
And
And it is also important to think about how you can communicate too much or too little. Yeah, like how do you calibrate exactly where you should be, as you say in the verbatims? All that you're doing in your communication is very important. I love all of that. Any final thoughts before I move on to the next question?
definitely just the unexpected. I think when you have been in automotive for some time, you can make some assumptions, because certain things are kind of the same across all dealerships. But I also see a tremendous number of clients that will give less than 5 stars, but in their verbatim is actually a compliment. Like, I didn't like the value for my trade, but my sales associate was excellent.
Mm.
Or this person totally turned me off. And if this person hadn't stepped in, I would have walked out. So it does also afford the dealer the opportunity to point out the wins, because I believe in the positive reinforcement as well. Really highlighting the heroes that made a difference to the client, which is ultimately, of course, making a dealer's revenue increase, and doing what you can to retain that talent.
Mm.
So you may think, yeah, you've got a top salesperson, but when you see clients actually saying, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be buying here. Obviously, taking steps to call that out, share it with the rest of the team, bring them up the ranks. It can do a lot to, retain good talent.
Yeah, which is critical. So if that wasn't already hypercritical before COVID, and then through COVID, like retaining top talent and having a tool that also helps you with, what a great additional point. That's like a bonus tip, audience.
Yes.
Marlo just hitting home runs today. You mentioned this just briefly, but let me ask you a little bit more. Next question is regarding reviews. How does ZipDeal help dealers generate customer reviews and testimonials on platforms like everyone is familiar with, Google and Facebook?
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, so from business review sites to social media, we have multi channels to that. The 5-star review that I mentioned was like an in house quick litmus test. How are we doing so far? It leads right to the next module, which is, would you like to share your experience? And we'll text you a link to make it super easy, whether it's Google, Yelp, we can even rotate those wherever you're trying to drive more reviews. We make it very simple for the client to do that. Again, maybe they have a little more time to kill after they finish ZipDeal. They can just click that link and jump on and leave the reviews. One of my dealers actually had a 200% increase in the volume of their Google business reviews, almost out the gate in the first 30 days. So 200% in 30 days increase in Google reviews. And
Wow.
also the social media, we have the ability, whether it's the marketing question or the F&I survey, to say, would you like to take a photo with your vehicle that we could post on our social site, or even a small video testimonial? And when we do that, we alert the team so they make sure that they get that photo before the client leaves. And I think dealers posting those examples really shows potential buyers, this is what it's like here are happy clients. And when you get more and more of those, it's not like one post twice a year, but it's constantly, you're just showing these.
Mhm.
It's amazing. Some dealers have 20% of the clients going through raising their hand, say, sure, take my photo. Because of course they're going to use the photo for their social too. So
Mhm.
works on both sides. But I even encourage the consultants, you should be building your brand, post it on your own as well.
For sure. I love that tip. And we talked about it before we started recording. I'm a big advocate of personal branding, and that includes inside the store. And this tool really does have a connection to that as well in terms of helping with the brand, helping the store's brand, the personnel inside, individuals. It's a big process. There are actually lots of moving pieces, and ZipDeal seems to actually bring a whole lot of these things together in one place. That I love the efficiency of something that's simple. There's so much
Mhm.
complexity since we
Yes.
have been in the digital age in automotive, and you certainly know this probably better than me. But we've both been around it since before internet, so I know that's dating myself at least. But I don't mind that. I love having that perspective because ZipDeal then it helps me see so clearly how something that is desperately needed by most dealers, probably all dealers, is take some of that complexity that the digital age has brought into our dealerships and forced us to have to be much more than just car salespeople
Mhm.
and car service people. It's just not the way it was in 1982 or 72 or whenever. I love it. It's such a essential tool. I want to ask you a couple more things before I let you go. One is how ZipDeal helps dealers stay ahead of changes in the needs of buyers and their needs and their expectations.
Mhm. For sure. Um, and they do change. I think that's, whether it's macroeconomic issues or, just seasons the dealers are going through, they can keep that pulse. But one thing that really comes to mind is we know all of these um, OEMs, manufacturers want that low cost of ownership score, right? So they have equipped these amazingly technologically advanced vehicles to not need maintenance or service for quite extended periods of time. It's very computerized and so forth. But we typically do for the F&I surveys, ask the client, what is the interval in which you do your regular maintenance? 70% are still saying something other than as recommended by the manufacturer.
Mm,
Just to give you, and that's been, I know, 20 years since, right? The computer can tell you when you're ready,
yeah.
but they still have the mindset like every 5,000 miles, right? You see it. So, how do we work with that? Because we know the cars maybe don't really need it, but we do want to keep them coming in for service. So, maybe we can offer something else. So, we do have dealers that when they see this, they can offer, a mini detail or just let me top off your fluids. So, there's ways to keep them coming back very organically. Um, Another one that I think is interesting, dealers will ask, are you planning on coming back to us for your maintenance and your service? New, certified, pre owned. And um, it is alarming sometimes to see how many say no. I've had one dealer 50%. Obviously, had discussions about that, but they got creative and they took the no's, waited 30 days, and then their service BDC reached out. Didn't say that they had seen that they'd answered that they weren't coming to them for service and maintenance, and did exactly that. Offered them a free car wash. Just tried to wow them with the client experience. And
Mhm.
then, yeah, if you have the right service writer when they come in, so where do you normally service and, kind of garner how they could win that business over. But obviously, the retention, the opportunity for the next sale, if they're coming to you for service, is more and more vital all the time, that fixed op absorption.
It's I don't know if you've ever heard of the term manufacturing serendipity,
Mm.
but I don't remember where I heard that, but I stole it from him. Like I steal
Immediately,
like an
it conjured
artist.
a lot of thoughts in my head.
It's but the tool and what you're talking about, it kind of is the ability to artfully use something that doesn't, the digital age established I've always called it the creepy line. There's this line that if you step across it, when people started de-anonymizing all the website traffic for a car dealership and saying,
Mm-hmm.
here's the list of all these people that don't fill out a form, but now we've identified them and
Mm-hmm.
all, like, that's such a scary thing to put in the hands of people who are desperate for leads, because without a process to make sure those people don't think, how did you know
Mm-hmm.
it's me? But artfully doing something like truly building process with the technology that you have in play, if it's done the right way, it actually is a huge benefit to customers. And so just listening to you explain that, I thought that that's one of those kind of, you could manufacture serendipity in a way that just, it feels really natural the way that it should.
Mm-hmm.
So I love all those things. The last thing I want to ask you about is, I guess, in your final thoughts, like, what else can dealers learn from the real time feedback they can get from
Mm-hmm.
clients through the ZipDeal platform?
Um, I see so many examples. There are some pretty large variances by brand as well. One thing that comes to mind going back to our Google reviews and our social media, um, we also can get our clients to follow the dealers. So we'll make it easy again, give them the Instagram link, the Facebook link, so they stay with them. But I think that seeing certain brands in particular where there's really some training opportunities for the team. So, one thing that comes to mind, we ask the client, when you're getting your final delivery walk around, what features would you like us to focus on? That varies by brand greatly. And I have had both managers and consultants tell me, oh, I hate when they put under the hood because we don't really know. Like
Mm.
they don't know what to explain. So OEMs offer tons of product training. We know this, but if we still have a good percentage of clients, especially on certain brands that do things themselves or just want to know, want to see, to get the consultants up to speed on how that works. So that's one thing, is the feature focus. I think that leads to training opportunities because the clients are telling us this is what's important. So it's not just pairing my phone like I think it was for quite some time.
Hmm.
It could be these safety settings, like some of them I want to turn off. Some of them are annoying, right? So
Hmm.
making sure that the team is equipped to be as intelligent as the consumer, because they've certainly done their research. So now when they're actually buying, they want that final stage of help. And that's another final thought I had is we talked about the value of real time in store, but I also have some dealers that are doing it, continuing the process right after the client leaves. So it could be an hour and a half, it could be 24 hours. They're doing another CSI check in. So, did you feel any pressure? Were there any vehicle features that you found difficult to understand? They get those surveys couple of hours or the next day, and they can get back to that client before they have had the vehicle too long and get that resolved. Or it could be a particular question that they're struggling with. Did someone reach out to you? So we can do that reach out. We can be that for them. The 24-hour check in with them. So I think those are ways that the dealers have brought some of their challenges, pain points to us, and we've evolved and developed things for them right along with them. And I think that will never end. I think there's always going to be the next challenge, right? Like we said, the next season.
Hmm.
But we'd love to, work with the dealers and help them, whatever the challenge is. And we do make it easy. That it's very fun to be part of ZipDeal. I kind of feel like we take a weight off of dealers' shoulders, and they have a lot of weight on their shoulders. And it's something where they literally can set and forget. As long as the team is putting it in front of the clients, it's taking care of those processes that sometimes were happening, sometimes they weren't. So they can kind of just worry about other things, bigger problems, and let that take care of itself.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that point among many throughout this conversation. Dealers have always been, but especially in the digital age, they're always looking for companies, businesses, and the people that represent those businesses to come in and, like, take something off the plate, like, make this
Mhm.
easier for me. Like, you need to solve a problem. Don't come in and have to explain how complex the solution to the problem I don't even recognize in my own dealership is. Like, if you if you've got to send in a huge team of people to win this deal because it's so complex, and I'm like, you don't even understand what's going on in my
Mhm.
store. You've never sold a car yourself. You've never ever stood in the service department for 45 minutes unless you were getting your own vehicle serviced and complaining about it. Like, there's so much detachment from the technology and the solutions that are sold. And I'm really glad that you said that, because I think dealers are looking for solutions that have a basis, a foundation of, this is going to take something off your plate. This is immediately going to give you pain relief,
Mhm.
you know, solving to problems. And in this case, just in a very short conversation, we're talking about things across the entire sales and service operations that gain efficiencies, that improve the customer experience, that bring in opportunities to increase revenue. There's just one after another after another. So this is just me and I don't work for ZipDeal, right? I'm not selling ZipDeal or servicing ZipDeal. But as a person in the industry that's been in it for a long time, I've seen a lot of different technologies. I can tell when something organically came from the minds of
Mhm.
operators in a dealership, because they were trying to find something to, this is, we could be better. And that is clearly the foundation of ZipDeal. And I think it is why I feel so strongly about it. It's like, this is just one of those no brainers. Like I said, I have my little bullpen of things when I'm talking to dealers. I'm like, that's a no brainer. Like,
Mhm.
it's completely, you're not talking about, oh, can I afford to change out my DMS or my CRM or even my
Mhm.
website? Some huge moving pieces. You're talking about something that slips into all of your major technology investments and improves the operation across both fixed and variable in ways that what else does right now. And it so includes the customer, like your most precious asset, and helping them be part of what then grows all of this revenue, reputation of the store. Like, it's just, it checks so many boxes, and it's hard to find anything that's come to market in the last handful of years that checks that many boxes. There's so many deliberate, like, surgical, you need this thing. Everybody needs a digital retailing tool. Oh, okay. Oh, so now everyone's got a fancy lead gen tool. Okay, cool. And consumers weren't quite ready to use it, and wasn't massively adopted quite the way we thought. Doesn't mean that those tools aren't necessary and they're not good to have, but ZipDeal just checks so many boxes. Well, before I uh, just kind of give my final remarks, any additional thoughts or things that came to mind that you wanted to share?
Just just on what you just said, Sean, yes, the potential for loss for a dealer to take a risk on something new, to exchange, this product for that product, is great. I understand, why dealers sometimes are slow to change, because even though they may not be achieving the goals and the objectives that they want, there's the fear that they could actually go in reverse by making the change.
Mm.
With ZipDeal, there is no fear. There's no way you can lose by asking more clients if they'd like an accessory, or want to give us a referral, or set your first appointment. There's just none of that risk involved when you implement this and put it in your front of your client. That literally takes less than 10 minutes, and everything after that happens automatic. Text notifications, reporting, it's alerts, it's all automated behind there. I can't think of any risk that they could potentially go backwards by putting ZipDeal in front of their clients.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Audience, we never want to waste anyone's time. So thanks for taking time. Uh, and I just want to give a couple of takeaways here. If you didn't key in on these things that we talked about, the ability for your dealership to make immediate improvements and course corrections is huge. Don't sleep on that. The ability to improve products and services based on instant insights, huge. The ability to enhance your customer relationships by showing extreme responsiveness and care. By the way, you can't fake care. You can fake it for a few minutes, but genuine care is demonstrated by time. And this gives you a tool that helps you do that sincerely, which is exactly what, 99% of every car buyer and car service recipient is looking for. This is also a great tool for boosting reputation through proactive engagement. And it's real time. This is happening in real time. So you get to capture this in the moments that really matter with your customers. And then, of course, the first thing that